check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Highly uncircumcised, Nicole Juergens. How are you?
I'm good. Mike had to turn his hat around because we're gonna get to the real shit now.
It's about to get raw, uncut, just straight up gangster, representing for the men on the highly uncircumcised men versus women. Yeah, let's go. LFG.
Yes, let's fucking go. We've been talking about all week women habitually earning less pay than men. We've been talking about sports, but we're going to talk about life in general today. And I think, you and I have come to the same consensus that we truly agree that you should get paid for the same work that you do. But also when the work is not the same, you're not bringing in the same revenue, then it's okay, whether you're man or woman, to not get paid the same, right? I believe we're on the same page there.
We are pretty much on the same page right there.
Yes.
I have a question for you, though.
Yes.
Go ahead. What were you going to say?
You go ahead.
I have a question, and it just came up. This is a highly uncircumcised question. And here's the question. If you were a police officer, if you were a male police officer, I should say, right? So put yourself in the male position. Not hard for you, okay?
I identify with being a dude.
There you go. Would you mind a female partner?
Why not?
I'm only thinking about that from a protection standpoint. Like
you think she can't protect you, or you would be scared you can't protect her?
No, I'd be scared she couldn't watch my back the same way that a male partner could.
Why do you think she couldn't?
Because she's going to be physically, probably inferior to 80% of the people we have to, deal with on a day-to-day basis that are violent.
So she can't tase or shoot somebody like you could?
No, she can, but hopefully the goal of most police officers would be to not shoot people and to actually just apprehend people without, having to kill them. And so maybe, go ahead.
Well, I think that's where the training comes in. I don't know what kind of training they take, but I assume it's massive. I mean, they even have like a camp, right, that they go to teach people how to disarm, how to stay safe, how to right? Like I can't imagine.
Police Academy. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Police Academy.
The camp is the camp is the Police Academy.
It's there was like 5 movies about it, right? I honestly wouldn't know.
So the reason why I'm asking you that question is
you're like she's in war and she has to drag you out of no, she's not going to have to she can probably run faster than your ass. First of all, second of all, she's what are you worried about? Really?
Excuse me. Were you just talking about me personally?
Yes.
You know what? That's exactly why I would never have you as my partner anywhere out there.
I would let you die.
I would literally just walk away. Anyway, trust me, I'm not getting outrun by anybody. But listen to me. The reason why I bring that up is because I was just thinking about culturally the look at men versus women in terms of pay, value, equity, and so forth. And the first thing that came to my mind was if I was a cop, would I want a female partner because of how I may already see the weakness or strength of women.
Again, yeah, and like you said, that's a cultural thing, and we have culturally come to this point where we see a woman's value as less worthy than a man, and whereas I would see in this instance where I know nothing about cops, but that they wouldn't allow somebody on the force who didn't have the necessary training to keep you safe.
But actually, that's not necessarily true, because what they do is they actually lower standards based on sex. So essentially, if I had to do
standards, what does she have to do?
Exactly. So if I had to do 100 pull-ups to pass a certain segment of the academy, right? Mm-hmm. You might have to do 40. Mm-hmm. If I have to do 100 sit-ups, you might have to do 40, right, to pass. So the standard by which you're measured is less than the standard that I measured.
I don't necessarily agree with that. I also think, are they measuring all standards? A woman partner can have different benefits that you wouldn't think about that are not just physical.
Like what?
intuitiveness, understanding a situation without actually having to be talking to somebody, feeling things more than men can, which can help you stay safe in a situation. There's a whole range of things other than just being able to outlift somebody. I think, especially as cops or anybody in the police field, that can be beneficial. But to me, I would think it would do everyone a disservice if they're not being trained at the same level. 100%. I think they should, for sure. I mean, you shouldn't have to feel as a man that you aren't as safe. But also, I think it could be more a culturally thing that you're thinking going in without realizing it. Like that reminds me of the movie, what's the Demi Moore and G.I. Jane.
Oh,
Did you ever
GI
see
Jane.
it? That, yeah, right. And they
Yeah, I've
all
seen.
fucking hated her. And but she did it. She's in. If you have never seen this, she's in the Navy SEALs. Like somebody tried to make an example of her. They thought she's going to be in the SEALs, and she's going to get. This is a fictional movie, but still. And she makes it, and in the end, she ends up like. This is what I was saying, like, oh, you want me to drag your ass like out of war or something? Like she does. She drags the guy out of, he gets shot, and she drags. I think that we don't realize there's a lot more things women can do if they truly want it. Do I think they should be tested the same? Yes. Like same with like firefighters. Like if you think the standard that they need to be able to carry, 100 pounds something, and then they should have to do that. Like men or women, if you feel that's really what it needs to be safe, I agree. I think that you should. If you don't feel like you can be safe, or that this woman's going to come to your house to try to save you from a fire and she can't carry you to safety, then we're doing everybody a disservice, like by allowing that, I would say.
Then we're doing everybody a disservice, because I can tell you right now that the standards for police, fire, any of these, especially like government type jobs like that, are different.
Mm-hmm.
A woman could never be a firefighter. She could never be a police officer. She probably could be an EMT, something like that. She could never probably be a lifeguard. If they actually got measured, if they
I
all
don't know
got
about
measured.
that. But and
Well,
again, like
because
who
because they have
decided
to be
on
able to carry a certain amount of weight as well. So
who
it's
decided that they needed to like do 100 pull-ups? Like what does this
well, whatever
prove about to
body
be a cop?
governs it. I don't
And
know.
who was it? It was probably a man, right? Like again, I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to fight the entire system, and I do think that women should have to, especially if you're concerned with safety. But like, where exactly are these men? Are you sure this is what they need to keep me safe? Like, and also, once they get in on these lower standards, are they paid the same? Probably not, right? I mean, lower standards, so they're
Oh
probably
no,
getting lower
I'm
pay.
pretty sure starting pay and all of that is the same across the board for like firefighters and police officers, because that's also union. So that stuff would be negotiated with the union, and they definitely wouldn't be making any sort of differences with their men and women union members, brothers and sisters. But so it's a little different than like how we're looking at sports, where contracts are actually offered. Yeah, there's definitely going to be equal pay when it comes to those things. Now there might not be equal advancement, right? So you probably don't see too many female
Like, I mean, yeah,
fire
exactly.
captains,
Like,
and
how many
yeah.
female? I mean, firefighters in general. How many female? None. I mean, I've seen none.
Yeah.
I see it's so many
Oh,
firefighters.
I've seen female
I've
firefighters, but
heard of it, but I don't see it very often. And I
yeah, I
don't,
don't know that you see it often, but you see a lot of female police officers, especially in like, LA, because it's such a huge city. But
even that, as I'm thinking more about your question, I mean, like sometimes I think I'd feel safer with a female. Like, I feel culturally my own biases against men is sometimes maybe they're too aggressive. Sometimes they make bad choices when they get in the heat of the moment. Sometimes that, whereas a woman may not. So again, I think where that question comes from within you is the same place it comes from in society, is that this general cultural idea of the gender differences and what we're capable of and what our worth is in each situation. And that's, I think, how we've gotten here.
so do you not find then as a female that you feel that there's an unfairness to, let's bring it back to sports? Do you feel that there's an unfairness in terms of how pay structures are done with men and women? And is there cultural influence there? Like what are your thoughts on that?
Well, again, I mean, I think we said it for all the sports, is I truly believe that if you're doing the same job, the exact same job, and especially specifically sports, it's very easy to see, right? Like how much of a crowd are you bringing in? How much TV time are you getting? How much ads are you, right? Like very easily you can see it. You can see it in women's soccer. They are bringing in all the crowds. The men are bringing in zero. They are winning all the awards. Men are winning none. They are, you know, so it's very easy to see there the disparity that like if you're literally bringing the revenue in, you should be paid your worth that supports that you're bringing that revenue, not a 30,000 average versus a men making 400,000 average when they're doing shit all, you know. So and then also conversely in the WNBA, if they're seriously not bringing, if they can't even get seats filled for $25 in their stadium and nobody wants to watch it, and it sucks. But if you're literally bringing no revenue in, then you're still getting paid what you're worth. Then yeah, I agree with that. Again, I truly think that if you can do the job and also, but if you're talking about like firefighters and police and whatever, ensure that the testing that you are doing to do the job is actually necessity. It actually proves that you can do the job, not just something that like, oh, well, you got to do like 200 push-ups. Like then you can be a cop, you know, like, but yeah, if you are doing the same job, yes, I 100% believe you should be doing the same money. And if you're not, then no, like, you know, okay, the WNBA is making 75 grand a year, you know, like if they're not bringing any money revenue in, then that makes sense to me. You know, someone would have to explain more of that to me.
So it sounds to me like the only, it sounds to me like one of the only areas in life that you would advocate for women, say, suing their employers would be something like the U.S. women's soccer team, because the U.S. soccer team is getting screwed. So, but what that kind of says to me is you probably feel then like society is kind of set up in the right way then, because, you know, unless you can show me like a bunch of areas where
well, I think the problem is if you look at in society, so like you and I were just looking at the US Census Bureaus, right? It's getting better because we used to know the stat that women got paid 71 cents on every man's dollar, right? In all of United States, and if you're talking about all of work. It's getting better now. In 2019, it's now 82%. So in 2019, full-time year-round working women earned 82% of what their male counterparts earned, according to the Census Bureau's most recent analysis. So it's getting close. You can see the gap is closing. But yes, I believe if you're doing the same job, what would gender matter, right? You know, it's the same thing with race. Like if you're doing the same work, what would it matter what color your skin is? If you're doing the same work, what does it matter whether you have a penis or a vagina? Like it doesn't matter. You're doing the same job. So yeah, you should have the same pay. It
well, you
seems
know,
very simple.
I'm actually gonna then sue the porn industry because female porn actresses make way more than men, and they're all doing the same work.
No, but you understand who's bringing the money in porn.
So then it's not just about doing the same work.
No, the same work with the
there's a lot of
ramifications.
components to the formula, and obviously I'm being provocative with the porn reference, but I think that it's so sports actually is just its own universe, right? Because if we're talking about like a cashier and one makes $1 an hour and one makes 82 cents an hour, well, something is seriously wrong there, okay? Because the male or female cannot do that job any better than
isn't that what the US Census Bureau is saying? So I know you're going to sports, but isn't that what the US Census Bureau is saying? Is like if you're a male cashier at a grocery store and you're a female cashier, the male cashier is going to make $1 an hour and the female cashier is going to make 82 cents an hour. Like unless I have that wrong, isn't that what they're saying?
You realize then, and this conversation could get real big from here, the real problem is actually the US government, because they could actually federalize like wages, meaning they could fine private companies the amounts of money that would literally force them to start making everything fair, right? So if you're an engineer,
I think that's what we talked about with the president's wife, like first lady. Sorry, she's.
I think it's actually the Obama administration that you're referring to, but it could be the Biden.
No, I just saw it just recently, actually, because of after watching LFG, I just saw some headlines somewhere, and then people were debating like, no, this is not the way to go about it, and so I didn't read enough, so you'll have to Google it, but that's what I think they were talking about doing, because if it is a case, so like you say, sports is nuanced, and I understand, You know, if you're not bringing the money, you're not going to get the revenue. That's it. You know, you can't just say, oh, men and women. Well, what do you bring? But then the problem is the fact that in women, they are bringing all the money in, but then they're still paid less. So what the fuck is that, right? So yes, sports is definitely nuanced. But then now if we're looking at it on a worldwide, you know, field or court or whatever, if you're literally saying that a male cashier is making $1 an hour and a female cashier is making 82 cents an hour, that's where the issue is coming in, I think, right? And that's it's seeped through everything, basically saying a woman's worth is less than a man, and it's shown in pay. And now, are there other issues with that? Like women won't negotiate, right? Like, you know, it's in soccer, right? They don't negotiate as hard. They don't push more. They're happy with what they're offered. They don't, you know, these are different skills, aggressive skills that men find take too easier, or maybe just had longer time to practice and hone. And women don't do that. So yeah, I'm sure that's part of it. But again, the idea, and I know businesses work this way, you want to make as much as you can, so you offer as little as you can. But the idea that, where do they get these numbers though? If you want to offer as little as you can, why not offer the smallest amount, the amount you offer to a woman? Why not offer that to a man, right? Where do they decide?
I'm sure that they did offer them in the least amount that they could, you know, knowing what would be like acceptable.
But that's not what happened in soccer. Like, according to this documentary, she said, you know, they admitted that, like, yeah, I mean, we admit we took the deal they offered us, but they started offering, you know, the men up in the penthouse and they started us in the garage, you know, so they didn't start at the same number.
Again, back to that, that's not on the soccer federation. That's not the problem I have with the soccer federation. I have a problem with their defense, which was, again, that the women are just not as valuable. That's a ridiculous statement. But if you're coming to my place of employment and this other guy is coming to my place of employment and this dude says, I want $1 an hour, and I'm like, okay, all right, I'll give you $1 an hour, and you come in and say, hey, I'll take 82 cents an hour, that's not my fault, Nicole. That's not my fault or my problem.
So let's go back to your idea of grocery stores. Do you think they do that? And don't they have like a set wage that they just offer people? Or do you think they allow them to negotiate? You're like, oh, okay, well, then, you know.
Let me tell you, as someone who has hired and fired people in his career, I will tell you that everybody comes in with their own expectations. Mm-hmm. And there have been times when I've known that I can offer this person up to this amount of money based on the budget for my department. And this person literally wants like 20% less. I'm not going to say, dude, you could have got 105, but you only wanted 90. You only want 96. Nah, I'm giving you 90.
Oh, we just lost you.
Oh,
there you go. You're back.
Oh, okay.
So you said, I'm giving you 96.
I was going to say, yeah, I'll give you 97. I'll give you 1,000 more than you asked for, just so you come in happy, right? Like, you know what, here, you're worth 97. Now, the issue is not that I'm some systemic problem and I'm not paying you as much. I'm looking at the bottom line. The U.S. Soccer Federation was looking at the bottom line. If the women came in and said, we'll take 82,000, and the men said, we'll take 105,000, that's not the Soccer Federation's issue.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree. Yeah. But then why are they still fighting it? Why, now that the world knows?
Now they're in the know.
Right. So no, not the women, the Federation.
Why are they fighting it? Because there's a contract. There's a contract.
No, but I don't think that's it. I think they literally don't want to ever pay them more. That's why they're fighting in court, right? Otherwise, it could be easily settled. They could say, hey, let's just settle this. You know, we'll pay you this much extra for this period, and we'll rework your contracts when they're up. But
trust me when I say it's all about the bottom line, because if that contract is good for another 5 or 10 years, who knows how long this contract is for, by the way, right? If that contract is good for another 5 or 10 years, and they know they can get away with paying these meager salaries for another 5 or 10 years, it's simply about the bottom line. Once again, their defense was absolutely reprehensible, and it was just dumb. I don't know who thought that would ever be a great defense. Yes, women are just less valuable. That was just the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. But I can understand bottom line thinking, and they're like, hey, they signed a contract. This happens in men's sports all the time, by the way. Every year, especially before the professional football season starts, there's holdouts. There's guys who are like, whoa, Tom Brady just signed for 5 years and 150 million, and I produce this much, and I'm only getting paid like 2 million a year. No, I'm not coming to camp. Right? That happens every year. And sometimes the power structure wins and says, hey, sit out. We don't care. We'll just fine you until you decide to come in and play. Or sometimes they say, you know, this guy is special enough where we got to just go ahead and pay him because we don't want him unhappy and we don't want to lose him.
That's what I was wondering about the women's soccer team. Like, what if they just like, fuck you then? We're done.
See, personally, I wish, this would be my wish, that the women would just get together and say, we're not playing another soccer game.
Yeah, why?
Just very simply put, we're not playing another soccer game. And I guarantee you, you're going to bring the U.S. Soccer Federation to its knees and they're going to pay you. And you will probably get paid more than the men at that point.
Oh yes, you will. Well, and that's the thing about coming together too. And I think that's why the pay disparity is closing. You know, the pay gap is because women are coming together and being like, hey, fuck this bullshit, right? But also I think, you know, maybe the women aren't doing that because they can't get the whole team on board. It's hard to do, right? For those who aren't making very, very much, but it's all they have and they don't have it, you know, this is their dream. Like, oh no, I can't sit out. What if they say no? And blah, 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 right? I remember, this reminds me of the story of Friends. Remember the show Friends? Mm-hmm. And they all for like one of the first shows right after Seinfeld, where they all got $1 million an episode, one of the, I don't know, 6th, 7th, 8th seasons, whatever. But the way they did it, and in order to get it, because there's 6 of them, right? So it's $6 million an episode. The producer going to pay them. They fucking deserve it for sure. The show brought in a shit ton of money. But of course, it's very easy to be like, no, that's too much. We're not going to give you that much. But they all had to work together, and all of them, no matter what, they couldn't back down. They told him, we're not going to come back. Each one of them, right? They had to get all 6 of them on board. They had to stick to their guns. They railed them hard. I heard, like, right. Like, well, they would tell them like, good cop, bad cop. Oh, well, we're going to fire Rachel, whatever her name is. And we're going to get somebody else. But if you'll take, you know, whatever, they all had to stick together. Like, fuck you. No. And that's how they got it.
You want to hear a fun fact? Just because you brought that up, you know how much they were going to pay Seinfeld to come back after he said, like, I'm done, this is the last season. They were going to pay that dude. They were going to pay him $5 million an episode.
Yeah, it was like,
and at that time, that was like, you know, that was just unheard of money. Even the $1 million that the Friends got was like, right? They were going to pay that dude $5 million an episode. But guess what? That all actually is a perfect segue back into our conversation, which is he went and was going to get what he was worth. I mean, you gotta, at some point, the onus is on you to figure out what you are worth and then go get it. If the issue is someone is saying you are Black, or if the issue is someone says you are a woman, or you are a Muslim, yes, I will be the first person in line behind you with the signs. We can pick it. We can do it. We can riot. We'll do whatever we have to do, exactly, to get whatever we need, because that is bullshit. But if your problem is, hey, I went and I told them I'm worth $103,000 a year and they were going to pay $175,000 a year, bro, sis, that's your fault, dude. You blew it. That's on you. So work that silly little contract you have and then go get what you're worth. That's Mike's philosophy. That's just where I'm coming from. I'm very libertarian in that way.
Spell libertarian.
No, I'm not going to spell libertarian. You know why? Because it's my God-given right to not spell that for you right now.
God gave you that right to not spell libertarian.
You know what? Do you want to start talking about God? You want to get into God right now? No. You know what? Next week we should be
all God, all week.
All God, all week. By the end of the 3rd episode, dude, you would just be like yawning and just head down on the table. And
no, you will be out because I will give you a course on God.
Nicole, I would eviscerate you. I would absolutely fillet you. God. I would peel your skin back and reveal your underskeleton.
Okay, so anyways, I think you said the last word about this. I think, yes, I agree.
Let that be the last word.
That was the last word, but I just want to say one more word. So yes, if you're not asking, and I think this is a major part that we don't talk about enough, is women are not negotiating as hard as men. They're not pushing. They not aggressive, right? They're not aggressive enough. We learned this all in poker, right? But we are learning now, and the gap is getting smaller, but there still truly is culturally, I think, a misunderstanding between the idea that a woman can in fact do the same job and is just as worthy. But I think we're getting there.
Can I make one last point?
That was the last word, but you can say one more word.
And then let this be the last word. Whenever we monetize highly uncircumcised, I want $1 for every 82 cents that you earn.
Good luck.
You know why? You know why? Because I'm the talent, baby. I'm the talent.
Because you're more worthy. Fuck that. Not happening. I'll shut this shit. I'll burn it up. I'll burn it all to the ground.
Breaking news. Highly uncircumcised has burned to the ground.
That's enough. All right. Have a good weekend. We'll see y'all next week.